Hey Blazers fans, this is Ryan Rupert and you are listening to The Briefcase with Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blazer fans, and welcome to The Briefcase presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. Episode 183 of The Briefcase presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. I am your host, Casey Holdahl, and it has been a bit of a difficult winter break for your Portland Trail Blazers. They had a few days off, head to New Orleans, get blown out by the Pelicans in New Orleans on Thursday night. The hope was that the Blazers might be able to get some players back from injury with so few games over the last 10 days, but unfortunately it's actually gone the other direction with more players missing games, particularly that game versus the Pelicans. So we'll see if at any point in time in this upcoming stretch where they still don't have a lot of games, maybe some players returning from injury, because as of right now, tough for the Trailblazers to compete with as many players as they have available. And we'll also discuss Deni Avdija being named one of the top players under the age of 25 on this edition of The Briefcase presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. So even though the Blazers are in a stretch right now where they only play 2 games over the course of 10 days, when you kind of break down how those days get used, you start to realize that not as many days off as you would hope. Obviously, they're not game days, so a chance to get healthy there, but the travel, really kind of takes away some of those days. So I guess what I mean by that is the Blazers lose to the Grizzlies on Sunday to finish a 4-game road trip. They fly home that night, arrive in Portland late Sunday night, early Monday morning. Team has Monday off, a blackout day, which is standard when you're gone on a long trip. Usually the first day back, as long as you're not playing the second half of the back-to-back, everyone gets that day off, gives people a chance to get back home, get some rest, particularly when you've played as many road games as the Blazers have. It's helpful to get a chance to get home and to have a little downtime. So the team doesn't practice on Monday, does practice on Tuesday, has a nice practice by all accounts, got some stuff done. We talked to both Toumani Camara and Thiago Splitter after that practice. And then after that practice, team the next morning, I believe around 10 o'clock, boards a flight to New Orleans. It's like a 4-hour flight to New Orleans, 4.5-hour flight. Get to New Orleans, then face the Pelicans on Thursday in, I guess, the consolation bracket of the NBA Cup. I don't know what they call the games that all the teams that don't move on to the knockout round play, but I'm just going to call them the consolation games because it's easier than saying the 2 games that are added to your schedule during the 10 days of the NBA Cup knockout round. So we'll just say that they're consolation games. Trailblazers head to New Orleans to face the Pelicans, a team with 3 wins this season going into that game. Fortunately, Trailblazers not able to get that one. They end up losing 143-120 Thursday night to the Pelicans in New Orleans. 143 points, I believe, is the most points the Trailblazers have given up this season, either in a win or a loss. A week ago, you look at that game and say, the Pelicans have won a whole lot of games. They are playing better basketball right now, but we feel like that's a game the Blazers can go in and win as long as they have enough players. Fortunately for the Trailblazers, they did not have many players in that game, just down to 10 players for that game versus the Pelicans, 7 players on NBA contracts, and then the 3 players on 2-way contracts. No Rob Williams, no Young Hansen. Both of those guys, I know at least Rob Williams practiced on Tuesday, and I believe Hansen did as well, but neither one of those guys ends up playing in the game on Thursday. Rob Williams misses the game due to illness, which also kept him out of the Memphis game. Young Hansen misses the game due to a face contusion that he suffered in the game versus the Grizzlies when he was one of the only centers available in that game. So the Trailblazers go into that game versus the Pelicans with 10 players, no centers. Dwap is a center, but he's more of a stretch 4-5 kind of guy. No players over 6'9". How about I say that much? Trailblazers didn't have any players in uniform that were taller than 6'9", and unfortunately, that's the way it looked, particularly in terms of points in the paint, where the Trailblazers were just dominated, particularly in the first quarter. Blazers start Deni Avdija, Shaedon Sharpe, Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, and Chris Murray in that game, seeing as how, again, they had no centers, so they might as well play small ball because that's the only ball they could play Thursday night. They go down by as many as 9 in the first quarter. As I mentioned, points in the paint, an issue as you would expect when you don't have any centers on the court. Blazers do make 7 threes and got a 12-point second quarter from Ryan Rupert. So even though they didn't necessarily look great in that first half, they ended the half also by shooting a bunch of technical free throws, or a bunch of free throws. I believe Deni Avdija was fouled, and then Herb Jones picks up 2 technical fouls, complaining about the foul call. Trailblazers end up shooting a bunch of free throws to end the half and go down, trailing just 2 into the half. And at that point in time, particularly with the way that second half or the first half ended, you felt like maybe the Blazers had a little momentum going into the second half. Fortunately, that would not be the way that the game played out. So it's a close third quarter throughout, neither team really taking a whole lot of advantage. Blazers actually go up 91-90 with a little over 4 minutes to play in the third quarter, but the Pelicans behind the play of former two-way Blazer Bryce McGowens, which you look at where the Blazers are at, how many players they had available, and Bryce McGowan's in that game. You can basically chalk up, hey, Bryce McGowan's is going to have a good game in this one. That's the way it goes in the NBA, and that is exactly what happened. Behind Bryce McGowan's, the Pelicans outscore the Blazers 15-7 to take a 105-97 lead into the fourth quarter, and then it goes especially bad. The Blazers score the first 4 points of the fourth quarter, but then the Pelicans answer with a 21-4 run that basically puts the game away with 6 minutes to play, particularly when you're playing shorthanded and on the road as the Trailblazers were. You just don't have the guys and the legs in order to come back from a deficit like that. And the Trailblazers were not able to come back from that deficit. Didn't really even mount much of a comeback in that one as well. And as I mentioned, give up 143 points, the most they've allowed this season. 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists in 27 minutes for Shaedon Sharpe, who got the start in that one. Will be interesting to see if when everyone is healthy, or not when everyone is healthy, but just when more players are healthy, if Shaedon Sharpe stays in the starting lineup or if he goes back to the bench. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists in 32 minutes for Sidy Cissoko, who did come off the bench in that one. Sidy has been starting for, I think, the last 7-8 games. With Shaedon coming off the bench, they end up flipping in the game versus the Pelicans. Sidy still has a nice game off the bench, though, as I mentioned, with 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And played quite a few minutes too, 32 minutes. So he played starter minutes in that game, even though he did come off the bench. 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal in 32 minutes for Deni Avdija, who to me looks like he's starting to feel some of the effects of all of the role that he's had to play for this Trailblazer team with so many guys down. Deni just looks to me like he's just a bit tired, and hopefully, this stretch right now where the Blazers aren't playing a whole lot of games, give Deni a chance to maybe get his win back a little bit, because it just looks to me like, he's played so many minutes and has played so hard and is doing so much for this team right now that it just looked to me in that Pelicans game like, he was just maybe didn't have his best energy with him in that one, which is completely understandable considering what he's been doing for this team for the past month plus. 16 points, 5 rebounds for Jeremy Grant, 15 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds for Toumani Camara, and 14 points, again, 12 of those scored in the second quarter, 6 rebounds, 3 assists for Rayan Rupert. Trey Murphy for the Pelicans has 24 points. Bryce McGowan's great game for them, 23 points. Jordan Poole had 24 points in that one. So Trailblazers fall to the Pelicans. Pelicans get their 4th win of the season. The Blazers have now lost 3 straight, 7 out of their last 10, and I believe 12 out of their last 15. So they need some guys back at this point. I think, I don't think there's really a whole lot you can talk about this team right now until they get some players back, because, it's just everything basically reverts back to, yeah, they could have played better. Yeah, they could have kept it closer, but they don't have players right now. They don't have a center. They are missing 4 guards right now and a forward. And I just, again, you'd like to see them play better than they did versus the Pelicans. But what can you say about the injuries at this point? They just don't have the players out there right now to give themselves a good chance to win unless they play perfect. And it's just difficult to play perfect basketball. So until they're able to get, at least some guys like Drew Holiday and Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams back, again, they don't need to get everyone back even. They just got to get some guys back. They need a guard on this team right now. They need a big on this team right now. They don't have either, or at least they didn't have either in the game versus the Pelicans, and they have been without veteran players at those positions for a couple games now. So the Trailblazers do get back into action on Sunday by hosting the Warriors in the second and last game of their NBA Cup Consolation schedule, i.e. the games that were added later on after they did not make the knockout round of the NBA Cup. Blazers will practice, I assume, on Saturday and then finish up that light week, as I mentioned, by hosting the Warriors. 6 o'clock start time on Damian Lillard collectible glass night, which is that's a nice little reason to come out to that game regardless. Blazers 2-0 versus the Warriors so far this season. So you imagine the Warriors are probably going to come in fairly motivated. Also sounds like Steph Curry is going to play Friday night versus the Timberwolves, has been out for a number of games. So we'll see if he ends up playing versus the Trailblazers on Sunday. On one hand, if he plays on Friday, at least he's back in the lineup, but I could also see a situation where maybe they play him on Friday and then maybe rest him on Sunday. I don't know what their plan is, but either way, the chances of defeating the Warriors increases considerably if Steph Curry doesn't play. But the Trailblazers, again, have had some success versus the Warriors this season, so we'll see how that goes on Sunday. Blazers will have 3 days off in between the game or after that as well. So even if they don't get guys back for the game versus Sunday versus the Warriors, they don't play again until Thursday when they have a home and road series versus the Kings on December 18th at Moda Center and December 20th at Golden 1. After that, 5 straight home games. So not getting on a plane for a couple weeks for the Trailblazers before they head out for a 3-game road trip over the New Year's holiday. So a chance, hopefully, this week for some guys to get healthy. Though, I kind of talked about it in the last show. Really no point at this point in trying to predict when players are going to come back. All the kind of the initial projections on when some of the guys might come back, all of the players have well shot through those initial projections. So at this point, I don't know that there's really anything to say. We asked Tiago for updates on when they have their last practice on Tuesday. No real updates to be said. Rob did go through practice, but then didn't end up playing. And then for the more long-term guys, both Matisse and Drew went through non-contact portions of practice, but not contact portions. So you assume that they're probably, again, I don't even know if it's probably not worth assuming anything at this point. But I would say that if they're not going through contact practice right now, then I would say they're probably not especially close to returning. And then it sounds like Scoot is still not doing on-court stuff either. Whatever he's doing is pretty light. And no, it sounds like Donovan Clingan didn't go through practice on Tuesday either. So at this point, the guys come back when they come back. I don't know that there's anything to be said or to be reported in terms of when those players might come back, other than to say, again, that the initial projections, and they are just projections. And Tiago talked about it. He's like, we try to predict when players are going to come back based on the injury that they have, but they come back when they come back. And as of right now, not really sure where the Trailblazers stand in terms of the players who have been injured and when they might return. But we do know that in the game on Thursday, after a couple of days off, they had 7 guys on NBA contracts and 3 guys on two-way contracts. So those days off did not result in players returning. In fact, it resulted in more players missing the games than had missed the games on that last road trip. So injuries are never great. They're an especial bummer when the Trailblazers started the season playing so well, and you can tell that like a lot of the stuff they were doing at the beginning of the season, they're just not able to do with the lack of players they have right now. So fingers crossed that maybe they'll get some players back for the game versus Sunday versus the Warriors. And if not in that game, maybe by time they host the Kings on Thursday, having multiple days off at home without having to get on a plane. But we'll have to see, because at this point, again, there's really not a whole lot you can say about this team, about how they're performing or how they're not performing, because when you only have 10 guys available and 3 of those guys are 3-way guys, and the majority of your starting lineup that you started the season with is not playing, it's really, it's just hard to judge where a team is at. So hopefully they'll get some players back, but fingers crossed on that one. And finally, as I mentioned, it is impossible to say where the Trailblazers would be at this season without the play of Deni Avdija. Has done so much for this team on both sides of the ball. And really, the strides that Deni has made in ball handling and playing point guard for this team, you would hope that once they are able to get some players back healthy, Deni can go back to his more traditional standard role, but also have the confidence and the skills to utilize what he's been doing for the team as their point guard once those players return. And he's able to do that. I think that obviously that's going to be great for the Trailblazers, and it's going to be great for Deni as well. But the way that he has played so far this season has earned him a lot of respect, as it should. Trailblazers, nowhere near where they're at right now if they don't have Deni Avdija. And due to that, Deni Avdija getting ranked 15th on ESPN's top 25 players under the age of 25, wasn't ranked as a 23-year-old, has been ranked number 15 as a 24-year-old. Right, Tim Bontemps at ESPN. When the Trailblazers acquired Avdija from Washington during the 2024 draft, it was seen by many across the NBA as an overpay. That's interesting. However, Avdija has rewarded that faith with a strong case to make his first All-Star game this season. He is also arguably the leading candidate for most improved player, behind a leap in points per game. He's averaging 25.8 points, up from 16.9 points last season, while maintaining his efficiency. His next step, according to Bontemps, is to just do this again next season. Avdija already looks like a foundational performer for the Trailblazers. If he can continue this production and carry it over into next season, he'll have fully extended as an all-star level wing. That is absolutely true. Really keeping our fingers crossed that Deni Avdija gets into the All-Star game this season. His performance absolutely warrants it. I think once you start kind of counting up some of the guys in the Western Conference, it starts to get a little bit difficult. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out with the international designations. And also, too, if you just read up on the plan for the 2026 selections for All-Star, the NBA is kind of giving themselves a little leeway in terms of what the rules are. I think it even says that like they'll come up with some of the rules later on. There might actually be more players that get selected for the All-Star game this year than typical because they'll need to balance out the 2 American teams and the 1 international team. But either way, Deni absolutely playing like an All-Star this season. If he'll get that All-Star nod is yet to be seen. He deserves it, but it's just a numbers game. And you know, you would hope that he's able to get the votes and the respect that he has earned through his play this season. But also, there's a lot of great players in the NBA, a lot of great players in the Western Conference. And also, too, you know, the fact that the Blazers kind of came out hot, but have, you know, have trailed off a bit here due to injuries. But still, the fact that they haven't been winning a lot of games as of late never helps your All-Star candidacy. So, one, hopefully the Trailblazers are able to get some players back so they can do better and compete and win some games. And if they're able to do that, that will obviously increase the chances of the players on the team getting individual accolades, be that all-star selections, be that most improved player. I think right now, Deni Avdija, absolutely the most improved player in the NBA. And again, we saw that last season in the second half of the season. A lot of other folks outside of Portland might not have noticed that, but at this point in time, that's great because it looks like Deni has really taken that next step, which he absolutely has, but he was already starting to make those strides at the end of last season. But as of right now, Deni Avdija, absolutely the most improved player in the NBA, in my personal opinion, should absolutely be an all-star as well. But that's really going to come down more to numbers and votes and kind of team record and just how they put together those teams. Because as I mentioned, I don't think anyone is entirely sure how they're going to go about balancing the domestic and international teams. What happens if more international players get voted in, then can make up one team, vice versa for domestic players. Either way, it seems like it's kind of up in the air right now. I think the NBA is wanting to give themselves, again, a little leeway so they can maybe make some decisions on their own in terms of how they're going to put the teams together. But either way, Deni absolutely deserving for his performance this season. We'll just have to see he's able to get in. And that's going to do it for this edition of The Briefcase. Thank you so much for joining me, as always. As I mentioned, Portland Trail Blazers playing Sunday versus the Golden State Warriors. 6 o'clock start time at Moda Center in that one. Damian Lillard collectible glass night. Tickets available for that game if you have not gotten them yet. Come out to Moda Center for that one Sunday. Blazer tickets make a great gift as well, and with so many games coming up here during the month of December, maybe buy some early Christmas gifts and give them to folks. Let them know that, you know, the game that they're going to before Christmas is actually their gift, or for Hanukkah, or for Kwanzaa, or for Winter Light Festival, or if you just feel like being a nice person and giving someone some Trailblazer tickets. It's a great gift regardless of the holiday, the event, the occasion. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, we'll talk soon. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to The Briefcase and all the other Trailblazers podcasts. I'm Casey Holdahl. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, we'll talk to you next week. Go Blazers.